The dining room in Denver looked like a magazine spread, burnished wood table, a line of candles, crystal that caught the light just right. And then there was the noise that didn't fit the picture. Raymond's voice, heavy and sure, the kind of voice that thinks it's never been wrong. Your sister is successful and responsible, unlike you. He lifted his glass toward Isabella like he was toasting a miracle he'd personally created. She doesn't need help from anyone. Isabella smiled like she'd just won an award. Designer blouse, tasteful jewelry, the whole showroom. She knew how to play to the room, chin tilted, eyes shining. I cut into the roast chicken and kept my face blank. You learn that after years of these dinners, no flinching, no blinking, no oxygen for the fire. Isabella climbed the corporate ladder, Raymond said, settling into his favorite sermon. Hard work. Focus. Not like your freelance dabbling. He looked at me when he said dabbling, like the word tasted sour. Look at her apartment, her car, her wardrobe. She's completely self-reliant. I chewed, swallowed, set down my fork. 2 years of this, same script, same hero, same villain. He bragged about a life he didn't finance. He dismissed a business he didn't understand. I let all of it sit on my chest like a lead apron, because there's power in silence when you're the only one in the room who knows the truth. She's making real money, he pressed on. Retail management, solid work. Not like Hannah, sitting at home, playing around on computers. Isabella beamed. Raymond glowed. The candles flickered like they were applauding. Thank you, Dad, she said. I've worked really hard. It feels amazing to be financially independent. The word independent was so loud it almost rang. Independent. From what? From reality? Excellent. I said, mild, like discussing the weather. Then she won't need my $4,000 a month anymore. It landed softly. No theatrics. Just a sentence slipping into the room and changing the air pressure. Isabella's smile cracked fast, like thin ice under a heavy boot. Raymond stopped mid-chew, fork hovering. What did you just say? He asked. Each word separate. Careful. I repeated. Isabella won't need my monthly transfers anymore. Since she's so successful and independent. Time stretched. The candles hissed. Isabella's throat worked. No sound coming out. She glanced at me with a warning I'd seen before. Don't you dare. Not here. Not now. Not in front of him. Hannah? She whispered. Voice small. We agreed to keep that private. Raymond's eyes snapped to her. Keep what private? His tone had changed. Less church. More courtroom. I didn't fill the silence. Isabella did. Panic's a sloppy storyteller. It's not Dad. It's complicated. She reached for the napkin like she could hide behind it. It's nothing. Just temporary help. Temporary? I said. 2 years. I kept my voice even. Like reading a receipt. $4,000 a month. $96,000 for rent. Cards, and clothes you can't afford. Raymond pushed back his chair. It scraped the hardwood with a sound like a warning siren. That's not possible. She makes good money. She makes $45,000 a year. I said, eyes on him. Not her. Good work. Honest work. But not luxury apartment in Cherry Creek work. Not posts like an heiress work. Isabella finally found volume. Stop it. Tears gathered at the edges of her mascara. Hannah, please. For 2 years, I continued. Still calm? You let him line you up next to me and call you responsible. Me childish. You nodded. You smiled. You performed, all while I paid your bills? The nice dining room didn't feel nice anymore. It felt surgical, bright, cold, necessary. Raymond looked at Isabella. Really looked like the picture frame had fallen, and the photo inside was someone else. Is this true? She held his gaze for half a second and then folded. I was going to pay her back, she said, tears sliding. I just needed time to get established. In what? His voice sharpened. You told me you were a district manager? I oversee 3 associates, she muttered. A confession dressed as a job description? Raymond turned to me again, and the energy in the room swung. For years, he'd looked at me like a cautionary tale. Now he looked like a man walking into a house he thought he owned and finding my name on the deed. How much do you make with your computer thing? I never intended to say it. Money invites opinions. Invasions, strings. But some numbers aren't for bragging, they're for setting bones. Last year, I said, 750 gross, about 400 net after expenses and taxes. The number hit, and the candlelight became interrogation lights. Raymond sat back hard. His wine glass tapped the plate and trembled. 750? I said. Outdoor gear. Mountain Peak Essentials. I run it from my apartment and a fulfillment partner in Commerce City. Website. Amazon. Other platforms. Serious customers who care about quality and service. It's real. It's work. Isabella made a broken sound. A small animal noise. Hannah. My rent is due in 5 days, she said. Words tripping over each other. My card minimums are $1,800. If you cut me off, If... I raised an eyebrow. No, if... You said independent. Be independent? I pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over an app I'd opened 1,000 times for her. Not for me. Habit is its own prison. Don't... She breathed. Like the word could stop gravity. Raymond's voice was low. Dangerous? You let me lecture your sister for 2 years while she bankrolled your life. She crumpled. I was managing the narrative, she said. The most expensive sentence she'd ever uttered. I almost laughed. Alone, she added quickly, grabbing the word like a life preserver. It was a loan, with no terms. I said, no interest, no end date, and no mention when Dad used me as the family punchline. The app screen glowed. I scrolled, found the autopay line with her name. My thumb pressed and held. A red slider appeared. Cancel recurring transfer. I slid. Done. I turned the screen and let them see the absence. Transfer canceled. The room inhaled. Raymond stared at the phone like it had performed a magic trick and sawed a person in half. You make more in a year than I did in 5, he said. Not to me. Not to anyone. Just to the idea of himself. And he swallowed the rest. Pride is a hard thing to get down when it's turned to glass. You never asked, I said. No heat. Just the fact of it. You liked the story better? Corporate titles. Shiny things. You understood her wardrobe more than my margins. Isabella stood, chair legs clawing the floor. Dad, you have to make her keep helping me. A bark of humorless laughter escaped me. I pocketed the phone. You both love that word when it's aimed at me. I looked at Isabella. Here's another... Stop. Stop pretending. Stop performing. Stop spending money. You don't have to impress people you don't like. Enough, Raymond snapped. But the word wasn't for me. It was a slap aimed at his favorite mirror. He pointed at Isabella's designer blouse like it had insulted him personally. You lied to me. I didn't lie, she said, voice fraying. I curated. You fabricated? He shot back. The principal was back. The lesson plan was pain. You let me parade you to family like a trophy while your sister... He stopped again, eyes on me. And for the first time in years, there was something like respect in them. Hannah, he said carefully. Tell me what you actually do? Not the headline. The work. I could have said no. I could have let him stew in the ash. But this wasn't charity. It was discovery. I built a line with manufacturers who make for premium brands. I said, private label quality at 60% of the retail price. I serve serious hikers who don't want boutique fluff. I control the supply chain. The margins, the customer experience. Average order value around $250. 1,000 plus orders a month when we're humming. The numbers aren't luck. They're systems. He listened. Really listened. Meanwhile, Isabella ran calculations in her head. Studio apartment. Selling clothes. A gym membership she'd never use again. Influencer captions turning into eviction notices. Raymond closed his eyes like it physically hurt. I owe you an apology, he said. Words rusty, but I think I owe you something else first. He opened his eyes. I owe you respect. I didn't nod. I didn't give him an easy out. I let the sentence sit between us like an unpaid bill. The candles kept burning. The chicken went cold. The picture-perfect room held the ugliest truth and didn't collapse. Isabella tried one last time, a whisper through tears. Hannah, please. No, I said. Not cruel. Final. Grow up. The revenge didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like a ledger finally balanced. One line item, a canceled transfer. Another, a story corrected. That was enough for tonight. The rest could wait. Outside, Denver's evening pressed against the windows. Cool and dark. Inside, the heat finally broke. The house felt like a courtroom now. Jury of 3, sentence pending. Raymond leaned back, his chair groaning under the weight of decades of pride collapsing. Isabella's mascara streaked like war paint gone wrong. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't empty. It buzzed with panic. shame, and the faint sound of a dynasty falling apart. Raymond's fork clattered against the plate, unfinished roast chicken abandoned. He stared at me like I'd been living in the walls this whole time, running a secret empire under his nose. 750,000, he muttered again, as though repetition might turn it into fiction. Yes, I said. Plain, gross. Net was 400. 400, he whispered. He'd never seen me as numbers. He'd only seen me as potential wasted. Now the math slapped him in the face. Isabella slammed her palms on the table. This isn't fair. Her voice cracked into hysteria. I was supposed to be the successful one. Dad, you told me... Sit down. Raymond snapped. His authority still worked. She sank, but not quietly. Her breath came in shallow bursts. The sound of someone who's been caught, stripped, cornered. I watched her unravel. 2 years of Instagram posts, brunch selfies, rented luxury. It all dissolved into the air like smoke. She wanted me silent. She begged me silent. But silence is what made this monster grow. Raymond turned on her, eyes sharp, like the teacher he used to be. You've been lying to me, to the family, to everyone. I wasn't lying exactly, Isabella said, voice small. I was managing the narrative. I barked a laugh. Narrative. You mean a scam? Con $96,000 to fund your fantasy? Her head whipped toward me, eyes burning. You think you're better than me because you sell tents and backpacks online. Better than you? I leaned forward. I'm not better. I'm honest. You can't even spell independence without choking. Her lips trembled. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. My tone sliced the air clean. Every designer dress you posted, every car ride you bragged about, every meal you paraded online, my money, my so-called worthless job. While Dad lectured me, you sat there and nodded, knowing damn well the truth. Raymond slammed his palm on the table, silverware jumping. Enough. His voice was gravel now, cracking under rage. He looked at Isabella with disgust I'd never seen him use on anyone in this family. You made me a fool. I bragged about you at church, at the golf course, to every neighbor. I compared Hannah to you. I told people she needed to shape up while you were leeching off her. The word hung there, leeching. Isabella flinched like he'd slapped her. I was going to fix it, she whispered. I just needed time. Time? I said. 2 years. You didn't fix anything. You doubled down. You dug deeper. You weren't building a future, you were building a lie. Raymond pointed a trembling finger at her. You will answer me right now. Did you ever get that promotion you bragged about last Christmas? She hesitated. Then, broken. No, I oversee 3 associates. That's it. His eyes closed, jaw clenched. When he opened them again, the man who always saw me as a disappointment was gone. In his place, a father realizing he'd been worshipping a fraud and ignoring the only one who'd actually built something real. Do you know what this means? He said softly, almost to himself. It means for 2 years, I've been humiliating the wrong daughter. That was the revenge I didn't plan but always wanted. Not her tears, not his anger, but this realization, their golden statue cracking to dust in front of him. Isabella's breath hitched, her hands clawing the edge of the table. Dad, please, don't look at me like that. I was just trying to be what? Raymond cut in, his voice like a whip. A fraud, a parasite. You could have asked for help. You could have admitted the truth. Instead, you hid behind your sister's money and my blind pride. He turned his eyes on me again. And you, Hannah, his voice softened, but it shook with shame. I dismissed you, mocked you, told you to grow up, all while you were carrying this family's lie. I didn't nod, didn't let him off easy. I just said, that's correct. The truth had shifted the power balance. Raymond was no longer the judge. Isabella was no longer the star witness. And me, for the first time in years, I was the one holding the gavel. Raymond's face shifted through colors, red, gray, pale. He pressed his fingers to his temple like the weight of every word he'd spoken over the last 2 years was crushing him. Isabella tried to fill the silence, her voice frantic, grasping. Dad, I can fix this. I'll get a second job. I'll pay Hannah back. With interest, I just need her to keep the transfers going a little longer. I cut in, sharp, a loan with no terms. No, you don't get to call it a loan just because you're drowning now. Her eyes darted between me and Raymond, desperate for an ally. Dad, please tell her. Raymond's hand slammed the table again. The glasses rattled like they wanted out. Tell her what? To keep financing your lies? To keep covering for your fantasy life? His voice was iron. You've embarrassed me? You've embarrassed this family? Isabella's tears streaked her cheeks, black rivers cutting through the polished image she'd curated. I was scared. You always said Hannah was the disappointment? You made me the good one. I couldn't lose that. That's your excuse. My words were venom. You let him use me as the family joke while you cashed my money. And you smiled through it all. Raymond turned to me. How long has this been going on? 2 years, I said, cold as stone. Every month, 4,000. Jesus Christ. He leaned back, eyes wide. $96,000. The number sat in the room like a corpse. Isabella's hands shook. She gripped her wineglass like it might anchor her, but her fingers slipped and it toppled, red spilling across the white tablecloth. Spreading like blood, she didn't even flinch. You don't understand the pressure, she stammered. Everyone thinks I'm successful. My friends, my coworkers, people online. If they knew the truth, I'd be nothing. Newsflash, I snapped. You are nothing without me, she gasped, like I'd stabbed her. Good. Let it cut. Raymond's voice came low, furious. All those nights, all those dinners, I told people my eldest was wasting her life while praising you, and the whole time he stopped, the shame choking him. I was wrong. Finally, I said the thing I'd wanted to say for years. Yes, you were... Isabella grabbed for her phone, scrolling fast, eyes darting. I'll downsize. I'll move. Look, there's a studio apartment, 600 square feet, $1,500 a month. No dishwasher, but it's fine. It's fine. Welcome to reality. I cut in, voice like ice. She froze, staring at me. Raymond stood, pacing now, running a hand through his graying hair. Do you know how many times I told people Hannah needed to grow up? How many times I bragged about you? He stopped and glared at her. All of it, lies, every word. The old Isabella, the curated queen of appearances, was gone. What sat in her chair was small, broken, mascara streaked. You can't just cut me off. She suddenly screamed, her voice breaking. I'll lose everything. My apartment, my car, my... Then lose them? I said flatly. They were never yours to begin with. They were mine. That was the nail. Her shoulders slumped, her face crumbled. And the truth finally crushed her like a wave she couldn't outswim. The silence didn't last. Isabella lurched forward, hands gripping the edge of the table like she could physically hold onto the life slipping through her fingers. Hannah, please, she begged, her voice ragged. Just a few more months. I'll change. I swear. I pulled my phone from my pocket again, thumbs moving with precision. The glow of the screen reflected off her wet cheeks. You don't get a few more months. I tapped, swiped, confirmed. It's over. She gasped, like she could feel the vein of money being severed in real time. You didn't... I turned the phone toward her. Transfer canceled. It was more powerful than any slap. She stared at the screen, face hollowing out. That tiny notification, so ordinary, was the wrecking ball that demolished the facade she'd built. Raymond leaned in, his voice a growl. For 2 years you let me treat your sister like dirt while she kept you afloat. For 2 years you let me brag about you. And you knew every word you let me say was a lie. Dad, I was scared, she cried. If people knew the truth. The truth? My voice sliced across hers. The truth is, you lived in a luxury apartment you couldn't afford, drove a car you couldn't pay for, and posted pictures of dinners I bought you. The truth is, you built a brand of success with my money. Without me, you're broke. Without me, you're no one. She flinched like I'd hit her. Raymond's chair screeched against the floor as he stood, pointing at her with a trembling hand. You don't get to use fear as an excuse. You lied, you stole, and worst of all, you let me humiliate Hannah while you smiled. The candles flickered in the draft of his rage. Isabella sobbed, mascara running in black rivers, blouse wrinkled. Shoulders caved. She looked less like the golden daughter and more like what she really was. A scared girl who'd built a castle out of borrowed bricks. I pocketed my phone and leaned back. This isn't about money anymore. It's about respect. You wanted the crown. You wore it proudly. Now watch it crumble. Raymond exhaled, long and heavy, as if the weight of his own blindness had settled on his shoulders. All this time, he muttered, I was proud of a lie, and ashamed of the only truth in this house. He looked at me differently now. Not the disappointment, Not the failure, but something closer to an equal, maybe even more. Isabella reached across the table, desperation clawing at her every word. Hannah, please. I'll do anything. Don't leave me like this. I met her eyes. You left yourself like this. That was it. No shouting, no gloating, just the truth. Plain and brutal. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's just a canceled transfer and a shattered illusion. Raymond sat down heavily, his face lined with regret. Isabella collapsed into her chair, head in her hands. And me, for the first time in years, I wasn't the family's disappointment. I was the judge, the executioner, and the one who walked away clean. Revenge didn't end at that table. It followed Isabella into the streets of Denver, into every corner of her carefully crafted life. The fallout was brutal, and it was public. Within weeks, the glossy photos on her social media turned stale. No more champagne brunches, no rooftop selfies in luxury apartments, no designer shopping bags dangling from her wrists. She tried to keep the illusion alive, throwback pictures, recycled captions, but people noticed. Followers who once fawned over her corporate success started asking questions. Didn't you get promoted? Where's the new place you bragged about? The comments cut sharper than any words I could have said. She had built her world on smoke and hashtags. And now the smoke was clearing. Her apartment complex posted an eviction notice. The car company sent a tow truck. Friends, if you could call them that, stopped inviting her out when she couldn't split the bill at the high-end steakhouse. Without money, her social circle dissolved like sugar in hot coffee. And then came the bankruptcy. Court papers, credit collectors. Her name dragged through systems that didn't care about image. Only numbers. For someone who lived for appearances, it was the ultimate humiliation. Meanwhile, Raymond couldn't hide from the embarrassment either. At church, at the golf club, neighbors on the block, everyone knew. He had spent years bragging about Isabella's success, mocking me as the failure. Now the truth had flipped, and the man who loved to lecture was the punchline. He carried that shame in the slump of his shoulders, the hesitation in his voice when people asked about his daughters. For me, those canceled transfers became fuel. $4,000 a month now reinvested in Mountain Peak Essentials. New inventory. Stronger marketing. I pushed into European markets, targeting hikers in Germany, campers in the UK, adventurers across Scandinavia. The orders surged, my brand growing beyond what I'd once imagined. Every time my phone buzzed with a new sale, it reminded me I wasn't the failure. I was the storm. And late at night, when I thought about Isabella scrolling through rental listings for dingy one-bedroom apartments she could actually afford, I didn't feel pity. I felt clarity. She wasn't being punished by me, she was being punished by the truth. Raymond called often now. Not to scold, not to lecture, but to learn. He asked about fulfillment centers, about profit margins, about why customers chose my gear over bigger brands. For the first time in my life, he wasn't dismissing me. He was listening. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man who once said, "Get a real job," was now asking how I built mine. 3 weeks later, the house in Denver was quieter than I'd ever known it. No smug praise, no lopsided comparisons, no golden child on a pedestal. Raymond sat across from me at the kitchen table, a notebook open, pen in hand. As if he were my student. "Walk me through it again," he said. His voice wasn't the booming authority I grew up with. It was softer, careful. Why do people buy from you instead of the big box stores? I leaned back, sipping my coffee, because I don't sell a dream. I sell what works. Real gear for real people. No inflated prices. No fake image. My eyes drifted toward the living room, where Isabella's voice used to fill the air, bragging about promotions that never existed. Turns out authenticity sells better than lies. He nodded slowly, writing the words down like they were scripture. For years, he told me I was wasting time. Now he wanted to understand every detail. It wasn't validation I needed, it was justice. And finally, I had both. Isabella wasn't here. She was gone, moved into a cramped studio 15 minutes from her job at the clothing store. The luxury car had been repossessed. Her designer wardrobe sold off in fire sale fashion just to make minimum payments. Her social media, once buzzing with admiration, had gone dark. No more filters, no more followers, just silence. And that silence was louder than anything. Raymond exhaled. Heavy. I spent years lecturing the wrong daughter. I owe you more than an apology. His eyes found mine. I owe you respect. I owe you recognition. And I owe you the truth. I was blind. I held his gaze, unflinching. Respect isn't given. Dad, it's earned, just like trust. You broke mine for years. It'll take time. For once, he didn't argue. He just nodded. The sweetest part of revenge wasn't Isabella's downfall, though it was satisfying to see the empire of lies collapse. It wasn't Raymond's shame, though I'd craved it once. No, the sweetest part was standing in my own truth. No longer shrinking, no longer silent. They had written me as the failure in the family story. But I picked up the pen, I rewrote the ending, and when I looked at Isabella now, stripped of all the glitter, living on a paycheck she used to laugh at, I didn't need to gloat. The truth had done all the work for me. Revenge wasn't fire or fury. Revenge was colder, cleaner. Revenge was the quiet triumph of reality over illusion,